Hello everyone. Do a little background for this worksheet about completing the square. First thing is I want to expand. So I need to move this piece of paper, expand this, which is written in vertex form, to show you how to get it in standard form. First thing you have to do is take care of the exponent. So you have y is equal to 2x minus 4. I wonder why it closes those 4s. It is so bizarre to me. And then the plus 5 is still out here. Hold on to the 2. Don't do anything with it. FOIL this out. So y is equal to 2x squared outside minus 4x inside minus 4x plus 16. And the plus 5. Now I want to draw attention to this right here. There are two identical things in the middle. I'm going to come back to that. You have a minus 4x and a minus 4x. All right, I'm going to reference that when I'm over working on this side. 2x squared minus 8x plus 16 plus 5. Take the 2, multiply it through. Y is equal to 2. Whoops, don't need the print anymore. X squared minus 16x plus 32 plus 5. And you get y is equal to 2x squared minus 16x plus 37. Which I want you to notice that I've done it ahead of time, and notice it's exactly the same thing as right there. So this is identical to that. They're exactly the same. Just this is in vertex form, this is in standard form. So it's in the format y is equal to a x minus h squared plus k, and this is in standard form. Y is equal to a x squared plus bx plus c. Okay, so to get this, which is what the homework's going to be about, to look like that, I'm going to walk you through it. Now, I'm not explaining what I'm doing as I go through this. I'm just going to do this in the order that you do it to convince you that it becomes that. First thing I have to do is factor this 2 out of just the first two terms, x squared minus 8x. And to help you see, you pretend you're dividing. Okay, so I have a 2 out front. That gives me the x squared and the minus 8x. The 37, I'm just going to scoot down, give myself some room. I'm just going to move it down here. Okay? Half the middle is negative 4. Squared is 16. I'm going to add 16. I'm going to subtract 16 because I can only add 0 to this and have it stay at the same value. Adding 0 doesn't change its value. So I've added 16 and I've subtracted 16. But this really isn't 16. It's really, if you multiplied this 2, and it's really a 32. So I need to multiply it by 2. Now, y is equal to 2. Now this compresses back. Look right here. This came from this. This compresses back to x minus 4. Minus 16 is minus 32. Plus 37, just minus 32 right there, plus 37. Y is equal to 2, x minus 4 squared plus 5. That's the process you guys are going to go through to get something from standard form into vertex form. And notice that they match. Okay, so again, I wasn't expecting that you guys know how to do this yet. I'm just making reference to that's how I'm going to go through it. These first 4 problems, the leading coefficient is 1. That makes life easier. Clearly it does. When the leading coefficient is 1, it's a couple less steps. So the first thing you do is write this much. Forget about this number for the time being. You're just going to move it down. You're just going to hold on to it. You take, when the leading coefficient is 1, you take half the middle. 3. Square it. Add it, subtract it, and now this minus 5 just goes along for the ride. So I've added 3 squared, or I've added 9, and I've subtracted 9, so I haven't done anything to this. turns out these first three are a perfect square. They factor into x plus 3, x plus 3. Minus 9 minus 5 is minus 14. If I write this as 9, you might see it better. What multiplies to 9 and adds to 6? 3 and 3. So that's going to factor back to x plus 3 squared minus 14. So you've written the standard form into vertex form. In the vertex, read this one opposite, this one the same. Oops, it's a 14. I can't explain why the software closes it. Okay, so x squared minus 6x. Take half the middle, negative 3, square it, add it, subtract it. The first 3 make a perfect square. Factor it back. What multiplies to 9 adds to negative 6. If you don't need to do this intermediate step, I can show you another way to do it. Plus 5. So that's y is equal to x minus 3 squared plus 5. This number here, notice it's half the middle. So if you want to skip this step altogether, you just, to go from this to this, x minus half the middle, 3. That works every time. Half the middle plus 3. Okay? You're going to use that idea on these. Y is equal to x squared minus 5x. The step before was you take half the middle, square it. 5 halves is half the middle. Square it. So you're going to multiply it by 5 halves. 25 fourths. So I'm going to add 25 fourths. I'm going to subtract 25 fourths plus 2. So y is equal to, and then to compress it back into a perfect square, it's half the middle, x minus 5 halves. Okay, that takes care of the first 3 terms. Minus 25 fourths, you don't have to write it as a mixed fraction. I'm going to do it so I can do this in my head. It's minus 6 1/4 plus 2 is minus 4 1/4. So your vertex is 5 halves minus 4 1/4. Okay. Do another one where it doesn't go nicely. X squared plus 7x. Half the middle is 7 halves. Squared is 49 fourths. So I'm going to add 49 fourths, subtract 49 fourths, minus 5 goes along for the ride. The minus 5 just moves over. The first 3 make a perfect square. And then you take half the middle to get there. 7 halves. If you guys want to write 3 1/2, that's fine. No problem. That would be minus 12 1/4 minus 5. So that's minus 17 1/4. Okay. When the leading coefficient isn't 1, you have to do a couple additional steps. First thing you do is you factor this out of the first 2 terms. Just the first 2. So that would be 2x squared plus 4x. Now the leading coefficient is 1. So I can take half the middle. 2 squared is 4. So I'm going to add 4, subtract 4. But if I took this parenthesis off, you'd see that the 2 goes to this, it goes to this, also goes to that. So I've really added an 8 here. So how to counteract that is once you subtract this number outside, you have to multiply it by the leading coefficient that you factored out. And this minus 1 just goes along for the ride. So y is equal to 2. You can press it back just like you did before by taking half the middle. Minus 4 minus 1 is minus 8 minus 1 is minus 9. So your vertex is negative 2 to negative 9. Showing you again, factor 3 out of the first 2. If you need to, pretend you're dividing to help you see what to write. X squared plus 4x. Oh, I wish these 4's wouldn't close. It was so annoying. Half the middle squared is 4, so you add 4, subtract 4, times what you factored out, and this 7 goes along for the ride. So y is equal to 3. Half the middle, minus 12, minus 7 is minus, or plus 7 is minus 5. So your vertex is negative 2, negative 5. Okay? When it's like a negative 1 hanging out there, no big deal. Just factor the negative 1 out. If you need to, pretend you're dividing. So that's x squared minus 6x. Half the middle is negative 3, squared is 9. I'm going to add 9, subtract 9, times what you factored out, plus 2. You factored the negative 1 out. Negative 1, x, oops, I'm compressing it at this point. So half the middle would be negative 3 squared. 9 plus 2 is 11. Okay, when there's a fraction in front, the process doesn't change. I have to factor that out. Now, a lot of kids get confused when you're dividing by fractions. You're going to factor this out, pretend you're dividing. And at this point, they're going to say that's the same thing as 5 over 2. Nope. 5 over 2 is not the same as 5 over a half. It's not. Okay. Half of 5 is this. This is 5 divided by a half. 5 divided by half. Division is the same as multiplication by the reciprocal. So this first part is x squared plus 10x. Dividing by the half is the same as multiplying by 2. Dividing by a half, you're doubling that number. Okay? Okay, so half of this now is 5 squared is 25. Minus 25 times what you factored out, and the minus 3 from up here just goes along. Y is equal to a half. You can press this back just like we have any other time. X plus 5. And that would be minus 12 and a half minus 3, so minus 15 and a half. So your vertex is minus 5 minus 15 and a half. Okay? And your homework assignment is the next page. This would be your homework assignment.